I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, episode 131 today at Velocities in Music. We're going to do 2010 album that just came out about a month and a half ago.
Something like that.
Yep, LCD Soundsystem's third album, This Is Happening. This is one of the most hyped bands of the latter 2000s.
Yes.
This LCD Soundsystem is one of the most original sounding dance punk bands out there. I mean, there really isn't a lot of stuff out there like this, but Tom, you want to give folks some background?
Well, the core of the band is singer-songwriter, I believe producer, James Murphy, found the Death From Above label that kind of started this stuff, but he is the founder of LCD Soundsystem. Interesting fact, that's why Death From Above 1979 had to add the 1979 to their name, because James Murphy and the DFA label was like, oh, no, tisk, we've got that name already. So in 2005, he came out with his debut album, debut self-titled double disc album. I mean, that thing's a freaking monster. It's 16 tracks total on 2 discs, because this guy just does not know how to make a short song. Well, he does, but then it's like he gets all itchy and he's like, 3-minute song, I have to have an 8-minute song to counteract it. And so that's pretty much what he does. But their first album, in 2005, James Murphy, I believe, was turned 35 that year. So it's interesting that this guy, he turns 40 this year. So kind of interesting, this guy in his upper 30s can just come and revolutionize dance music. But he certainly has. Now, their self-titled album had a lot more diversity. It was kind of all over the place, still centered around the same sound, but a lot more of the different aspects. Well, I mean, it was also longer. He had more room to play around as far as the time is concerned. 2007, Sound of Silver comes out, and that album, everyone just went gaga over. It's very good album.
Yep.
And then 2010, This Is Happening comes out. Now I'm going to prepare you. I'm going to compare this album a lot more to Sound of Silver. It's got a lot more in common with it. They're both 9 tracks and very long. And the setup and kind of the sounds are the same. Not exactly the same. There's actually a lot more synth in this album than there was in Sound of Silver.
This one's much more spacey sounding.
Yes, very true. Whereas Sound of Silver was a little more straightforward in the production. But the song construction, the mood, very similar.
Yep.
I feel like this is just a weaker version of it, personally.
See, I liked it better. I think it's catchier and...
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, that it's like, I'd be saying like, oh, this one's a 75 and this one's a 70. Like, they're so close. They're very similar.
They are. For me, this one actually probably is a little more cohesive. It flows a little better, but I just feel like the individual tracks are not as strong.
Probably.
There are more misses.
And that's probably why I like this one better.
Oh, and that makes sense. See, for me, when the tracks get so long, I tend to put less value on the cohesiveness, because I tend to look at them more as individual
pieces of
constructions. Exactly.
Right.
So another thing that I thought this album was missing, that Sound of Silver had, were some sentimental tracks. Sound of Silver had the song Someone Great, which is a song about a death, and it's a very moving song. And then the last track, while it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, New York, I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down, still a little more sentimental, a little more kind of, like closing time bar piano tune, but just with this kind of fun mood to it. This album doesn't have as much of that. It kind of approaches it, but never all out like those couple tracks I mentioned were. Also, the track 3, One Touch, while that's a good track, it sounds an incredible amount like track 1, Get Innocuous, from Sound of Silver. So
and completely David Byrne wannabe.
Oh, yeah.
Which James Murphy is a David Byrne wannabe. He's the reincarnation of David Byrne in the 2000s.
So yeah, there are some really good tracks on here. In fact, if you don't mind, I'm not gonna overanalyze it, I'm not gonna overdo this, but I'm gonna go through each track and just let you know. Track 1, Dance Yourself Clean, awesome. Track 2, Drunk Girls, I think it's
The
alright.
lyrics are fantastic.
They
to
are.
that
They're
song.
very funny, but the song itself doesn't do a lot for me. One Touch, pretty good. All I Want is this kind of spacey guitar-based song, and it's all right, but it just doesn't really do much. I Can Change, good song. You Wanted to Hit, good song. I mean, the only really song that I think is just bad is track 8, Somebody's Calling Me. That track just annoys me.
It has this really annoying synth part.
That just kind of, the pitch just goes, and then he tries to match it with his vocals, and it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, and it's...
So that's the only one that I guess is really bothers me. So I guess it's not that there are tracks on here that wouldn't necessarily be a big miss. It's just that he doesn't hit it as hard as he does on Sound of Silver. And because of that, when you've got a track that's when you've got an album that's only 9 tracks, each track is going to be working very hard towards the overall quality of the album. They're going to be working more, especially when they're like 9 minutes long. And to me, while they're good, they're enjoyable to listen to. One Touch, All I Want, and the last track, Home, while they're good, they just don't work hard enough. I thought. So, what do you think?
Well, I think that this is very cohesive. It's 65 minutes long and 9 tracks. And, there's issues there. There's obviously issues there. These songs go on for too long. End of story. They go on for too long. You'll be listening to these songs. You'll be getting the dance groove. And James Murphy does a great job of infusing, emotion into it. I mean, there's a lot of X Factor here. These are fun songs to listen to. You'll dance your ass off. But guess what? You're going to be dancing your ass off to the exact same thing for about 6 more extra minutes by the time you're sick of it. And it's going to make it easier if you're listening to this in your car, to hit that skip button. And I absolutely hate it when bands encourage their listeners to hit the skip button. Now, not everybody's going to do that. Some people will go for the whole big experience. I'm a big experience guy. I don't skip tracks. But the vast majority of people out there are not like me. They will skip tracks. They'll skip to their favorite parts and favorite songs. And the fact of the matter is there's only 9 songs here. So... I mean, when you look at it like that, and you have 9 songs, and a couple of them are weaker than all the other ones, there's going to be some displacement in the album. Now, this guy is a genius, and some of these lyrics are just downright amazing, incredible. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. The one in the Dance Yourself Clean, track 1, where he says, "Talking like a jerk, except you are an actual jerk." Like. These are thoughts that everybody has, but nobody talks about, and then they're there.
And he does it with such charm, such finesse. Like, he pulls it off.
Exactly. Just because you're hungry doesn't mean that you're lean. Like, little tracks like that, Paul McCartney is able, has pulled stuff like that off in the past on his album Ram. But, like, I haven't heard stuff that's that attitude-driven lyrically that, in a long time. And I really appreciate it. I think that's a breath of fresh air. I like the electronic compositions in this album, with the exception of track 8, that annoying synth we were talking about. But everything else, is very good. Now, this is getting just an insane amount of critical hype. This has like mid-80s on Metacritic, and I don't see it, guys. I don't see it. This is good. It's cool. But first of all, Sound of Silver did everything here already, and to top it all off, it's not as good as you're saying it is. I mean, yes, it's new, yes, it's revolutionary, yes, it's original. That's something that I value huge, and will give this a better score because of it. It still is lacking something it's still lacking the tailoring and the evidence that James Murphy and his team slaved over this album to make it just this perfect, smacking you in the face, this is awesome album. It's not there, and that's what critics are heralding it as, and I don't appreciate that.
I don't see it either.
I think though it's solid, and it's a blend of a whole bunch of different styles, and I like that. And I think that this one's a little bit more. I don't know what to say. I like the Sound of Silver. To me, it had it had 2 ballads in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really good songs, but it was more song based, or this is album based, and I appreciate that. So that's kind of the difference there. But other than that, like, I guess that's just it. I like the attitude. I like the dancing beats. It's just these songs go on too long. He could have tailored them. He could have inserted a couple more songs, or redesigned his whole concept behind the album in order to better fit these long songs. Because it just comes down to there's just no point in having them be that long. My tracks, I only picked 2 because combine these 2 tracks and it's about 18 minutes of the 60-minute album. So I picked Dance Yourself Clean because that track's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best, like that is just an amazing vocal performance once it really kicks off halfway through the song, about 5 minutes into it. And then track 7, Pow Pow, I really like that.
I'm going to pick track 1, Dance Yourself Clean, and I'll go ahead and pick 2 more. 5 and 6, I can change them you wanted to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Those are fun.
Sweet.
You go first.
Yeah, I really do like You Wanted to Hit. That's a good song. It's 9 minutes long.
Yeah. It is too long.
This is like Sleigh Bells, a hard one to grade, and Sleigh Bells and this are similar. So just Sleigh Bells is more extreme and shorter. But when it comes down to it, this is a 78 to me. It's a good album. This is a really good album. It's just not that good. It's not mid-80s good. I can name a lot more, a good variety of albums that are stronger than this, that do a better job of conveying the same ideas and the same witty lyrics. Now, I'll give him this. He's got a highly original style.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 74.
I think that covers it.
Yeah?
Got anything else you want to throw in there?
Nope.
Cool. Well, that's episode 131. www.velocitiesmusic.com. Let us know what you think. Fans love this, so the fact that we're not giving this 80s or 90s might actually frustrate some people. If that's you, please leave us a comment. Tell us why. I'm not going to argue with you, but we just love hearing your perspective. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And together we are moving music critique forward.